What it do, Smite crew? Not too long ago, we got a bonus balance patch featuring some nerfs to some strong gods and items, and there are some pretty contentious changes within this patch, so I'd like to put in my opinion on these weird changes that are pretty consistent with some high-res design philosophies that we've seen in the past. Specifically, it's the nerfs to Ravana and Thor. Both of these gods have been quite good for quite some time now, so it's obviously good to see nerfs to them. But the changes in these patches aren't really targeting what's making them good, and this isn't the first time we've seen something like this happen when we've seen a bonus balance nerfing strong items or gods. Starting off with Ravana, they basically just nerfed his damage, but if you played against Ravana recently, you would know that it's not really his damage that's the problem. As a jungler, he's never really been too problematic. The problem comes with the huge shield and tankiness he gets from building out of solo lane. That sort of makes you question why they chose this of everything to nerf on Ravana. Will it affect his numbers and how he performs statistically? Probably, but is that really changing what's making him frustrating to play against? No, it's not targeting his tankiness, which is the main problem behind Ravana's balance right now. We see a similar thing happening with Thor as well. They nerfed his passive for some reason and then took some scaling off of his wall, but I feel like the crux of the issue with Thor is not just about the damage on the wall, but the fact that it does damage at all, giving him 4 damaging abilities. This lets him build tanky in solo lane and still do a lot of damage while also being tanky, similar to Ravana. In addition to that, it lets him be in jungle, and again, you have 4 damaging abilities, and if you build a whole bunch of proc items, it doesn't even really have to do a lot of damage for it to be very effective. This is a consistent trend of adding unnecessary buffs to God's kits instead of just going about it in a more straightforward way. For example, Ravana. I don't think he was great, but did he really need a giant buff for his shield on his passive? No, not really. Same thing with Thor. Did he really need to have damage on his wall? This isn't even a new problem either. I mean, look not too long ago at Bloodforge or Circuit. With Bloodforge, it was always historically an expensive item that fills a niche for junglers who like to go all in or are getting a lot of kills. It has high power, low lifesteal, but the main draw is that big old health shield. Then they added attack speed to it, for some reason. So for every patch after that, it was being built almost exclusively by carries. They started nerfing it, and instead of nerfing the fact that it has attack speed randomly on it, they start nerfing every other thing about the item. So now it's not even a jungler item anymore, it's basically being purely built by carries first item every single game. They finally take off the attack speed, revert its power, and now it's back to where it should be. We saw a similar thing happen with Circuit. They randomly added crit chance onto her ultimate as a passive effect, and instead of nerfing that outright, which is where she spiked into being good, they nerf every other part of her kit besides the crit chance. It's just one of those things where I don't doubt the work that they do. You know, they have the statistics and everything, and I don't doubt that they want the game to be in a more balanced state, but it's just a weird trend where they'll unnecessarily add something onto an item or a god, and instead of just nerfing that part outright or reverting that certain part of the kit, they double down and nerf everything around that one specific thing that they added. It's just such a weird thing that happens because, like, I mean, again, look at Bloodforge. Every time they nerfed everything but the problem, it was still used every game. They finally addressed the problem head on, and now it's back to a balanced state. And this trend is continuing with these two gods. Are Ravana players gonna stop playing him now that he doesn't do as much damage? No, he's still gonna be very tanky. Same thing with Thor. Are Thor players gonna stop playing him now that he has less damage on a passive and less damage on his wall? No, he still has 4 damaging abilities. You can still build him tanky in solo lane and do a lot of damage. It's just one of those weird quirks that I don't quite understand about the balance behind this game. And I understand it's a hard game to balance, there's a lot of characters and a lot of items. But it's just one of those things where I just don't understand why they make these changes in the first place. And then once these changes are clearly the problematic parts of the kit, I don't see why they get stubborn and start nerfing around that one big buff that they made instead of just addressing that head on. It's one of those things where if you play the game a lot especially, you'll commonly see gods and items that are picked because they're strong. So you're like, yay, you know, finally they're getting nerfed, that's good. But then you see it's not really the part that's making them good, so they're still going to be good regardless of the nerf. So yeah, I just had to get that little piece out there, seeing as I was reading the notes, and again, it's pretty consistent with stuff that's happened in the past in the game, and I don't really doubt that it'll happen again. So with all that being said, I'll see y'all boys next time.